Hello everyone, this is going to be my first video I make on this channel, and this is going to be delving into the 16 personalities type test. And I've done this before a few times, and usually I come out typed as an ENTP. It's been a good few months since I took this test, and I'm wondering if anything's changed since then in how I perceive the world. I personally think that a lot of this test stuff is a little bit bullshit, for lack of a better word. But I'm going to give it a go again, and I'm going to see what we can see. So, the first question: you regularly make new friends? I would say yes, but I struggle to maintain those friendships, and that's part of my problem. And this one's pretty straightforward for me. Complex and novel ideas excite me more than simple and straightforward ones. I like turning complex and novel ideas into something that's straightforward for people to understand. But I like the thought process behind complex theories and ideas more than anything else, right? It resonates emotionally. It pretty much doesn't have any impact on what I actually think. At the end of the day, the logic behind it is what should be, determining the validity of an argument. So that's a strong disagree there. Your living and working spaces are clean and organized. I mean, to some extent, I would have answered over here a while ago. I'm probably gonna answer somewhere in the middle. Generally tending towards yes, especially for my living space. Yeah, honestly, to a point where a lot of people either look to me for support as an anchor, or to the point where people think I'm weird and just can't feel anything. So I'm gonna probably say yes on that. I mean, it can be daunting, but it's kind of one of those things where you have to try it in order to get over this. And once I would try it and get over it, I feel like I'd start to get the hang of it and kind of nail it real quick. So I'm gonna say it's not that daunting. It could be at first, but once you do it once or twice, I mean, you should be set. This one I'm kind of 50-50 on, because I do prioritize and plan tasks effectively. I don't really keep in mind a deadline per se. It's more so just what needs to be done first when there's a deadline for everything, right? If there's a deadline for 8 different projects and I know one's going to take me longer than the other, I'm going to, prioritize that one first and bang out all the other smaller tasks. So I'd say yes, but it's not really it's not like a calendar or like a list of things I need to do. I do that in my brain. So I'm gonna say slightly agree. People's stories and emotions speak louder to you than numbers or data. Well, at the end of the day, everyone has their own story. Everyone has their own emotions. Those are subjective. Everyone has their own personal anecdotes. Unless you have the facts to prove something or to validate the worldview you have, I think that at the end of the day, numbers and data, they trump stories and emotion every day, right? No, I really don't. I do tend to hate organizing tools. I've come to start using lists, and even there I fail, mostly because I'm very much in the moment, and I can struggle to use these effectively, and I feel like it's kind of a waste of time because of that. So I'm going to say no to some extent. It's not a strong disagree though. Yeah, this is the problem with my personality is a small mistake can have me doubting certain things, but it's not a doubting my overall abilities or knowledge. It's more so in that moment I'm trying to pinpoint what I did wrong so I can kind of filter that out for next time, right? So I'm going to say agree for the most part, but for probably different reasons than this test is kind of asking. You feel comfortable just walking up to someone you find interesting and striking up a conversation? 100%. If I find them interesting, then yeah. If I find them boring, there's going to be nothing to talk about, so I'm not going to be going up to them, right? Honestly, I find every single possible angle to something fascinating, even if I completely disagree with it. So I'd say that's a complete disagree on that one. Yes, I do, but it depends on how close I am to that person. If I know that person will be significantly affected in the feelings department on this, sometimes you have to prioritize how someone else will feel. It's not easy for me, but facts for the most part, if someone's just completely detached from reality in that sense, right? Every single day. But there'll be moments, especially with like family or loved ones, right, where you want to say something and you want to do something, but you just know it's not going to be helpful in the long run. They're not going to take that. So they're not going to actually utilize what you tell them anyways. It's kind of pointless to bring that in, right? Yeah, the only schedule I have for the most part is my work, and that's it. And that's the only thing I really follow throughout the day with schedule-wise. Everything else I kind of just wing. Sometimes I do worry about my impression on people, especially when it's someone that I look up to, right? But typically, I go up to someone and I'm more interested in feeling them out and exploring who they are, getting to know how they work, and seeing through any fronts they might be putting up, and kind of trying to break down barriers that most people can't even see. So I'm gonna say I rarely worry about that, right? It's pretty rare. Team-based activities, it depends on the competency of the team and who I'm participating with, right? If everyone has their thumb up their ass, I'm gonna hate it, right? So I'm gonna lean on neutral to negative there, because I like doing things on my own, with my own little methods and ways of doing things, because at the end of the day, I know it's gonna get done. I know it's gonna be proper. Whereas someone else coming into the equation, it can be helpful if you're directing them, but if they're just doing their own thing, that'll probably screw me over more often than not, right? New and untested approaches. I mean, it depends on if it's valid, right? And if you have a thought process and you want to experiment with it, I mean, I do that all the time, right? You have to experiment sometimes to figure out if something's gonna work, but sometimes you have an idea and you just know you have to scrap it. It's just like something untenable, or it's maybe not the most useful idea, right? You have to prioritize certain things. Overall, I do enjoy experimenting with untested approaches, though. Sensitivity, if we're completely honest, I mean, that kind of ties into what I was talking about with that one other question earlier here. With family members, it depends on who they are and how open-minded they are, because you can really piss off a lot of people by just telling them the truth. And I like doing that with random people, but with people I have no choice whether or not they're in my life, sometimes it's best not to poke the bear, if you will. So I'm gonna say mostly disagree, because there are times where you have no choice, and it's not even sensitivity, so I'm gonna say disagree. It's just you don't really bring up certain things that you notice, and you kind of just keep quiet, because they're just gonna reject what you say and they're never gonna change, right? So new experiences and knowledge areas to explore. Yeah, I mean, every day, man. If you're prone to worrying, things will take a turn for the worse. I mean, always, every day. I mean, everything can go worse or better or stay the same. I mean, at the end of the day, there's so many different paths you can take. 99% of it's out of your hands, right? Depends on what it is, right? If it's a game like chess or some sort of competitive game where it's a lot of thought and strategy, I will take a group activity above solitary every single day, just because I enjoy that competitive side of me. But if it's not strategic or mentally focused, I would say solitary for sure. But for the sake of this, I'm probably going to say mildly disagree on that, because group activities where I can just come up against people who I know are efficient at something and try to beat them, that's fun, right? Cannot imagine yourself writing fictional stories for a living. I mean, fictional stories, I mean, that takes a lot of imagination. Yeah, your head has to be up in the clouds, and I feel like my head's more up inside my own head rather than in the clouds. It depends. I feel like I could do it. Would I like it? No, probably not. I'd rather be writing about history, or trying to write a prediction about something, or trying to come up with some new strategy around something, right? So I'm going to say generally agree there. Favor efficiency in decisions, even if it means disregarding some. 100%. If I have chores to do, I hate having them hang over my head, because I'm thinking about so many different things. It doesn't let me get into that thought process, if that makes sense, right? I need that kind of zoned in mentality to really make that come to life. Yeah, I mean, I do this to a toxic level sometimes, and I recognize that in myself. But at the end of the day, if I know I'm right and I'm backed by evidence, I'm not letting down no matter what, unless it's something that, again, has to do with family members or people I know are just a waste of time to argue with, and that's it. They're never going to accept the fact, so it's kind of pointless there. Somewhat. If it's a large social gathering, I mean, not really. I mean, I tend to go up to people, right? Yeah, but that's probably due to my ADHD, to be honest. If the logic doesn't make sense, then it doesn't make sense, period, right? I have an issue with procrastination. It's not usually chores or whatnot. It's usually things that I need to improve on in some sense, that I kind of put to the side because I'm thinking about something brand new, right? Not often, but enough to say slightly agree there. And ethical dilemmas are awesome. I will debate on every single side of an ethical dilemma, no matter how offensive or how morally just it is. It's one of those fun thought experiments, right? Yeah, generally speaking, I enjoy having people to discuss things with. I mean, my brain can be a flurry of thoughts, and it's kind of pointless unless I'm writing it down to have those flurry of thoughts unless I can express it to other people and bring other people up to my thought process, right? Like what I was just saying, this is the exact opposite of me here. I love theoretical arguments and theoretical thought, theory and theoretical everything, because it's something you have an unlimited amount of things to think about. You have so many different paths. You can prove what path is most likely through evidence in the past and pattern recognition. So this is one of my favorite things to do. No, not at all. Yes and no. When it's important, I can do it, but it's not consistent. So yeah. I second guess everything I do. Even the things I know are right, it's just one of those things of hyper-analyzing because I have to overcompensate for the lack of, self introspection sometimes. Depends on the friends. If we're talking really, really close friends, they know that sometimes I can just not want to talk to anybody for a good bit of time, right? But that's only the closest friends. Those are the people who they've seen me in my worst and my best, right? Writing's fun. It's just not something I do often. Partially because I'm more of a verbal person, so I'm going to say sort of course. No. Again, no. Insecurities come from that kind of lack of being able to fully introspect. And because of that, I'm always overthinking and overanalyzing things I'm doing, for better or for worse, right? Technically, but I don't really have any reason to. That's just me being lazy, to be honest. 100%. Depends on what you mean by easily connect with people. I mean, at the end of the day, is it a deep connection or is it a surface level connection? Surface level, 100%. But deep level? Depends. Yes, 100%. When I was working at my old job in a trucking company, I would be the lead hand, and I was the second man behind the foreman. So whenever the foreman would go home, I would be staying late to finish everything up. And there's nothing like having something screw up or having someone throw something in there and you just having a plan set in motion and thought process set in motion and having to just change it all on the fly just to get back on track. I think that's probably one of my favorite things, even though it's a pain in the ass. Is that challenge and how I respond to that it's fun. Sort of, but not really. I mean, you have to come to a conclusion at some point that you can't change the past. You can only learn from it and use it. Bothered, not bothered, but I think about things. So I'm going to say I slightly disagree. Oh my, no, that's a major disagree there. No. The only time, again, it's family. It's just people that I know are not going to respond to it. Ideological barriers are going to be too high to really come to a conclusion with them, or they're going to understand what you're even saying to begin with, right? That's it. Yeah. I wouldn't really say this per se. I don't really care how people feel, so not really. You would love a job that requires you. Oh, 100%. I love that. As long as I have the ability to be in like a phone call or something with someone that I enjoy talking to, because then my mind can kind of drift off while I'm doing my job, or if I'm listening to music, right? I can have 10 million things in my mind and not have anyone bothering it or my process. That's something I like. No, it's not a waste of time if it's philosophical. I mean, at the end of the day, those questions do get answered at some point. It's just a matter of who's the first to answer them. And if you can be the first person to answer that's an accomplishment in itself, right? It's not a waste of time ever. There is a definitive truth. And anyone who disagrees with that is just not thinking logically. Busy, bustling adventures. I'd say I like a quiet place to just think. I can think in a loud environment, but I don't really like people, I'm gonna be honest. No, it depends. If it's my intuition, sometimes it just depends. If I have intuition plus some facts or plus some evidence to back that up, then 100%. But it has to have that logical basis. My thought process, I found is getting better. I used to feel very overwhelmed as a kid, having my thoughts racing a million miles an hour. At the end of the day, I feel overwhelmed by life sometimes. That's something I have to get over, but it's a slight thing that still haunts me a little bit. Yes, I need to do this or else I will miss things, and this is something you find as an ENTP, that you miss the simplest, most basic shit ever. And it's one of those things where if you're working at a job and you have a certain standard of quality you need to meet, you cannot miss those small things. Those small things being missed is going to be 10 times the big deal as you finding the big things. Like that, you know what I mean? It's even if the big things are more challenging to find, those small little details that you miss are going to look much worse on you. So it's kind of one of those things where you have to have a little bit of procedure and a little bit of a method to things and steps just to kind of counteract that. So I've developed that over time. That was not something natural to me. I probably would have answered over here 6 months ago, but yeah. Generally speaking, I prefer tasks like that. But I mean, beggars can't be choosers, right? You have what you got for work, and that's it. You gotta just master what you got. No, not at all. My intuition is more of a logical intuition. I don't know how to explain that, but it's just one of those things where you take the logic from your brain and you kind of feed it through your gut. So it's not an emotional intuition, but it's logical reasoning plus basic intuition, right? For me, anyways. I don't struggle with deadlines. I make sure everything gets done. I may delay things and procrastinate, but it always gets done. And I always feel comfortable with and confident things will work out. I don't know if I'm still ENTP in terms of the test. I might be something completely different, to be honest. I don't know, but I'm going to see now. And we'll see if my entire history is a lie on this website. Now, it looks like it's still typing me as ENTP, so I'd say that this is one of those things where I don't fully buy tests like this, but it's gotten to a point where the more I dig into it, the more I explore it, there's a lot of big coincidences, to put it lightly, right? And I think it's interesting that I consistently seem to be getting this. I think that in itself kind of shows some sort of continuity, and I think that in itself is a good data set to base my personality off of. So, you guys can compare with what you got in the comment section below and whatnot, right? This is my personal graphic. I don't know what you'd even call this. Just a little chart of where I fall on these specific traits, right? Part of my thing is I'm not judgmental. I'm not judgmental, but I am. In the sense that if I meet someone and I'm talking to them and they're having the objectively wrong approach and not open to moving out of that bothers me. But yeah, besides that, logical inconsistencies bother me. Hypocrisy bothers me. That's what I will judge. I don't care what your personality type is, how you present yourself or whatnot. At the end of the day, I mean, there are ENTPs that I'm sure are complete assholes, completely nice. It's a wide spectrum, right? But again, I'd be interested to see what you guys got. Yeah, maybe I'll come back and do some sort of political compass test or something. I know that's been something I've done for a long time as well, and it's been pretty consistent for me too. And I'd be interested to see where you guys score on that too. But enough rambling on my end. Deuces.